Hey everyone, welcome to Book of Katherine. This is going to be part 3 of my series on 9/11, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be my last. However, I'm filming it on Easter Sunday, and I felt like it was really important to do it on this day, just because I realized that I didn't do any of this on purpose. It just ended up happening this way. I realized after I was posting my second video, as I was posting it and looking up the date to post it for you guys, it said that I was doing it on Good Friday, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm posting this tremendous research video on Good Friday. And then I realized, you know what? I was going to do a video on the NORAD list, which is the thing that really set me free. I talked in that part 2, which I'll link right here, where I talk about the research that I did, the research list that I gave you. I go through each of the research pieces, which are all incredibly important. Even the things that are like 1 minute, you're just little nuggets of absolute genius gold. But I realized that there's this one piece of research that I'd already shared with you earlier on my Twitter, which is where I release most of my research. I realized there is one piece of research that really, truly set me free. It's where I stopped being scared. And I realized, you know what? Easter Sunday, like that's for many people, that's a day of new life. And it ends up being also April 1st, which is like, you know, for some, the first day of spring. And I was like, it just all comes together. And I think it's just meant to be that, you know, I am supposed to share the thing that set me free the most. I want to post today and share it with you. So watch this when you're ready and when you've watched the other things. But for me, this set me free the most, and I think it'll be the last in this series. But I want to go through it with you. I didn't link it below in any of the previous videos, but it truly, as I read through it, it really, you'll see, it transformed me the most, and you'll see why. And what it is when I say the NORAD research, it's this little sheet right here. So this sheet right here, as you can see, it's the 46 drills, operations, and war games and activities that were going on 9/11. So what does that mean? That means that when that day happened, the true terror of it that really trapped us, what was truly terrifying about it is that we were like, nothing had really hit us on our soil. And then suddenly we were like, wow, we're really vulnerable. Like anyone can get to us. They can actually get to us on our soil. And suddenly we all felt that's why we line up in TSA. We're like, anything to keep us safe. That's why we give up our freedoms. And we say, look into our emails. Go ahead, hack our emails. Hack our phone lines, like listen to our conversations. If it means keeping us safe, do it. That's why we gave up our freedoms and our privacy, was to keep us safe. But we always were safe. Do you want to know how safe we were? This is how safe we were. Let's start with part 1 of this research. So this research goes through the drills that happen. It has 3 parts. It has the drills that NORAD is like our air defense system, what actually defends our skies in the United States of America. Like all of our fleets and the things that basically guard our skies. And it goes, the first part of it goes over all the drills that we did before 9/11, and the drills that were going on the day of 9/11, and then the drills that were scheduled after 9/11. And so what was interesting is that if you remember back then, if you've done research or if you're young enough to remember, you'll remember that the thing that we heard Bush and Condoleezza Rice and the other people, just one moment, and others saying over and over and over again was, we could never have imagined that someone would fly jetliners into our towers. We never could have imagined it. We never could have imagined it. How could we ever have imagined it? And if you look up things like the Pentagon Mascal exercises, you'll see that they actually practice that. in the years beforehand. They actually practiced. They didn't practice the defense of it. They practiced how to clean up after. They actually have pictures of the Pentagon with an airliner into it. So they actually did imagine it. So this goes through all the drills they practiced in the 10 years leading up to 9/11 of the things that they practiced. So between 91 and 2001, foreign hijacked airliner crashing into famous U.S. building. NORAD did that. And then the White House Witcher clock, 1998, terrorists load Learjet with explosive attack Washington, D.C. And then NORAD does an exercise in 99 to 2001. Hijacked aircraft hit many targets, including the World Trade Center and Mescal. Mescal is the one I told you about with links, and I'll go ahead and link that below. You'll actually see, and they've removed a lot of the links, but I still have places. There are still some. It's so funny because the people who have the links up, they said, and if these links are still up, they're here, and if not, there's still links here. Like they knew the government, they had government links, and they knew eventually the government links would be taken down. But they're from government handbooks, and you can actually see where they were, and they had all of the firefighters and things like that there grouped around at the Pentagon with little. It was terrible. Not terrible, but someone made the point that the handbook wasn't saying how to prevent an attack. It was saying in the event of attack, they're actually training the firefighters, the DC firefighters, what to do when that happened. So in December 1999 to 2001, manipulate Al-Qaeda, data mining, patsy control. Like it just goes through all of these things, and you can look them up. You can find information about it. So I'm going to link this again. I provided it in my Twitter research for you. And so I'll link this again, and I'll put the link down below for you guys there. But then it goes into actual dates of individual exercises. So it has, for example, it gives the actual dates for Pentagon Mescal exercise, the one I was talking about. That was October 24th through 28th, 2000. Like that's almost exactly 1 year ahead of time. And it says commercial aircraft hits Pentagon, Mescal, MASCAL. And then here we go. May 11th, 2001, just a few months before, REDX, Recognition, Evaluation, and Decision-Making Exercise in NYC, OEM, FDNY, NYPD, FEMA, FBI. And what is the exercise for? Plane crashes and building collapses in New York City, WTC attack, demolition. It actually says they prepared for a demolition. Like they prepared for the World Trade Center to be completely gone, as well as plane crashes. Those were separate events. So it goes through just one after another, like FAA drill on summer 2001, FBI Miami field office, Miami-Dade. Miami-Dade, that's Broward County, you guys. Again, that's where all the voting fraud happened. Miami-Dade County Police Office, that's where supposedly the hijackers trained for their things. Summer 2001, Varig Airlines Boeing 767 hijacked over Florida. They practiced that. So there's just Fort Belvoir, Davison Army Airfield, helicopter base, Mescal, June 29th, 2001, scenario based on plane hitting Pentagon, indoctrination of first responders. So they just did, they didn't just do one training exercise on the Pentagon. They did several. They didn't do just one training exercise on the WTC. They did several. They didn't do one training exercise on the FAA. They did several. And so, again, they did more and more. It just goes on and on and on, all the training exercises they did for the 10 years prior to get ready for this event. But the thing that set me free, because I didn't focus on that so much, what really got me was when it was happening on 9/11. And this is the one that, this was it for me. I think this was my big turning point, was the very first one here. this one right here, if you can read it. It talks about the FBI and the CIA. If you look at that, where does it say that they went? It says they went to Monterey. It says FBI training exercise in Monterey, California, for FBI CIA anti-terrorist task force. Diverts the top FBI CIA anti-terrorist and special operations agents and heavy equipment. They took the heavy equipment to Monterey, away from Boston, New York City, and Washington, D.C. Like, that's how many layers. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you the rest. So also, they took NORAD annual readiness drill. Okay, I can keep going through these, right? It'll get boring if I keep doing that. Let me give you a short synopsis of it. They did a training drill that took a fleet of our jets, and they put it over the airspace of our Arctic Sea, the Arctic Circle, to like view Russian training exercises, just to view it. Like over Canada and over Alaskan airspace, the Arctic Circle. They literally took them out of the United States, put them over the Arctic Circle on 9/11. They took another fleet of our aircraft and they put them over northern Iraq. They took another fleet and they put them over southern Iraq. They took another fleet and they put them over Turkey. They took another fleet and they put them down in South America. They took every fleet and they put them to the other ends of the globe on 9/11. Like, they just took every fleet in the United States of America and they moved them elsewhere. Like, they had to do 46 exercises, all these exercises. This is all just on 9/11. They had to take not only all of our jets and our aircrafts off the United States, that's how many layers they had to remove to make us feel unsafe and like anyone can touch us. No, our military had to remove that many layers, 46 layers of jets. They had to strip us down to make us nude. This many exercises. They had to take our top CIA, our top FBI analysts, and put them on the other side of the country. Not just that, but here is the worst of all. Here's the worst of all. You may have already heard this by when you listen to the air traffic control, but this will give you some background as to that. They actually did 5 training exercises of what's called war games, and they were called Operation Northern Vigilance, Operation Southern Watch, Vigilant Guardian. They had Operation Northern Guardian, Red Flag. They on, and each one of these is a different war game. And as you heard, it was like Northern, Southern, all these different vigilance. And what those were is that they were based in every different part of the country, right? And what war games are is what they do. And normally, like, if it's a war game, they do one. They don't do it in all parts of the country. And it's a training drill that NORAD does for the FAA to like get air traffic controllers prepared for if there's like a hijacking incident or if there's a terror strike or if something bad happens. And what they did instead is they didn't just run one, because they don't tell them what's going on. They didn't just run one. They rode 5 on 9/11. Like, they had them overlapping. They played some through the weekend and over into 9/11. Then others they started like on Sunday and went over past 9/11. But they all overlapped onto 9/11. And what they did is so that on 9/11 they had all these war games happening. Now, let me tell you what that does. When all those war games are happening, all the air traffic controllers are sitting there doing all these war games, which means they have bogies up in the air and they're doing these drills of like what may happen if someone's up in the air. So they think all these things, if someone's hijacked or whatever, they think also when they're doing a drill, they're told the drill's going to be this, like 2 things are going to be hijacked, this, but something may change. We don't know what's going to change. Anything may change. Anything's possible. Be prepared for anything. And so every single air traffic controller in the United States of America, except for the ones who were in on it, every single one in America is in the middle of a drill. And they're all sitting there when they see something go wrong, when they see airplanes go off course, they're just kind of like, oh, this is part of the drill. And they're like, oh, this must be something different. Okay, so they don't take it as seriously. They get confused. They're like, well, is this part of the drill? Is this not part of the drill? And so when the people they call into aren't as responsive and they're just kind of like, okay, you hear it on the, that's why intercepted is one of my favorite pieces of evidence. Because when you hear them on the phone, like, okay, so, all right, just put that there. All right. It doesn't alarm the air traffic controllers as much because they think, oh, this must be part of the drill. Like they think, oh, this just must be part of the drill. This must not be real. This just must be a drill. Not like, why aren't you responding? Why aren't you more scared? Why aren't you more concerned? They're like, oh, we must be in the middle of a war game drill. And it just confuses everyone. And the whole thing goes, because there's already supposedly they think other people are in the middle. And some of the war games are actually supposed to be things crashing into buildings. So they don't know what's real and what's not real. And all of that's happening on 9/11. Like, that's an amazing coincidence, don't you think? And that's never happened before. You can look at all the drills they did before, and you can see how they're all spread out. They're usually like years apart. They're years apart. They never even occur near the same day. They show this whole page of war games, that's over 10 years. And this is all on one day. Like, look at that. This is all on one day. And then this is what's scheduled for after it. And when I went through this research, I just was like, that's what's protecting us every day? Like, they had to move that many jets. They had to confuse every single air traffic controller in America. They had to confuse all of them. Like, boy, did they ever have to work hard in order to, there would have been no way. Like, that woman says, jets are supposed to be scrambled in 6 minutes. If you go a hair off course, 6 minutes and a jet is there to save you. No. It will never happen. Our airspace is so locked up. We have the safest airspace on the planet. Nothing gets through. Nothing gets through unless they want it to get through. Nothing gets through unless they want it to get through. And that goes for everything else. Everything else. Everything else. You guys, they have power to surveil everything. Everything. There's nothing they don't catch. We are so safe unless they don't want us to be safe. And have you noticed that every single unsafe thing that happens is remarkably covered immediately? Like Parkland, how was CNN there before, the FBI? How is that even possible? How was the Secret Service there 3 weeks ahead of time training the teachers? Why would that happen? How is it the largest, most well-funded police force in America, but they don't have body cams, when almost everyone has body cams already? And then they're told not to go in. I don't know. It's one of those things, and it's all for fear. 9/11 was about fear. These things are about fear, and it's all real. It's real. It's meant to hurt us and wound us, but it's about fear. And I think the thing that what terrorized us was the idea that we could be hit at any moment from the skies. But no, our skies are locked up. Our skies are locked up. And that's what this incredible, incredible research shows us. And it bought them an incredible amount of funding for an incredible amount of, like I said, how do you fight, that kid said it on the street. He was just like, how do you fight a ghost? Brilliant kid on the street on the day of 9/11, when they were already saying terrorists did it, even though they don't have evidence, right? They still don't have evidence or whatever. And he's like, how do you fight a ghost? That was the whole point, is that it just got a blank check. But for the rest of us, we don't have to be scared. Like, we don't have to be scared. We really do have our freedom back. And I just really wanted to share that with you, because this is the report that gave me my oxygen back. It gave me my freedom back. Like, I'm not scared to ride an airplane anymore. I mean, probably ride a train because I don't want to go through TSA anymore. But, because I'm determined to travel again. And then the final thing that I want to leave you with, this is really important. I have been speaking, I've been really making a point to speak to the people, but every day, I just, for those of you who are leaders, I guess, okay, let me put it this way. Two really important things. Really notice if you wonder why they released the internet and why they released Google and everything else and all that stuff. Remember how I said the net is an internet to net us? All of that was so that they knew they could lock down and how did they keep 7 buildings falling from us? All of New York knew 7 buildings fell. And you can bet they try to tell us through Facebook and social media and the internet and everything. And it never reached your ears, and it never reached my ears. It never reached any of us. Never reached any of us. They locked it down since 2001. It never reached any of us through the press or anything. That is how much control they have to this day. Please be aware that is the power of the propaganda machine. Like, that is how much control they have. If you're reading it in newspaper, none of that is for anything other than to just, it's always a story. There's no such thing as a free press. It's just a policing press. That's all that's out there now, is to police you, to make you want to go and police other people. Pay attention to that. Everything out there on the media now tells you to police your fellow man. And watch that thing I gave you about it. A student from China came and said, the way communism began in China was by mobilizing students, and they would accuse their teachers, and the teachers would go to jail. And you just watch. It is students and it is teachers who are accusing people, and that's how they're going to jail. And that is exactly how it begins, and that is exactly how the media works. They just point at someone, and don't forget that is exactly what the Crucible is about. That is exactly what the Salem witch trials were about, is about how paranoia got going, and about these little teenage kids who were really excited because they realized how much power they had when they could just point at someone and say, "You're a witch," and they got locked up and put to death. And we are giving that power to little teenagers. They can point at someone and they get thrown in jail. They get put to death. They get to say racist, and everyone puts them on a pedestal. Or they say, down with this. You guys learn from history. Learn from the Salem witch trials. Learn from China. You cannot put in the hands of the media or young children or teachers who have been trained by the Open Society Foundation. Just look at what they're teaching their children. All of them, because the children are just being paid egads number of money, and they're going out there, and when you give them that much power, and you say, oh, if they just get to point at someone and say, oh, they're a racist, or, oh, I don't like you, and boom, they're fired. Oh, I don't like you, boom, you're fired. Oh, I don't like you, old man, and boom, they're locked away in jail. And there's no trial. They just go, I don't like that statue. Okay, we take it down. What happened to democracy? You make a petition. You get signatures. You have a discussion. You have a vote. But now when we do a vote and the town votes, even black people in in Charlottesville. It was like 70% of the blacks voted to keep the statues up. But oh no, they rioted and said, oh, take it down anyway. They ignored the Democratic vote. That's a problem. It is just this this huge mob mentality. And that is exactly how communism began in China. And it's exactly how communism began when in Lenin's communist Russia. And that was always 100%. It always followed with millions of deaths. Always. Always. Because you get drunk with power, you get excited. Don't forget the French Revolution. Do not think that they wouldn't sit there next to it, Cheshire Cat, and just knit away and be happy as the gauntlet would fall. Third thing, if you are a powerful person watching my channel, if you are in a position of power in your government, be careful with this information. Be careful with this information. This isn't, if you're a person and you're living, if you have a normal job and a normal family and you're out there, of course you can share this information. Of course you can go out there and talk about it. If you are a position of government power, this is not something, you have to be very, very careful about it. You have to be very careful because it was kept from you for a reason. If you are in a government position, if you are in government and you don't know about it, which is very few people in government around the world were ever told, oh my goodness, like that is a terrifying thing. And if they find out, be very, very careful. Be very, very careful. Be wise because they are careful. They are incredibly careful. They are incredibly calculating. You have to be the same. You have to be the same. They committed war. If you want to win, then understand that you're in war and you have to be a strategist. And right now, the strategy is protect the gold. Protect the goods. Figure out who you can trust. Figure out who you can tell. Share the information with them. But my God, if the entire media of the world knew that 7 towers fell and chose to keep it, you don't think they're watching to see if you ever find out? You don't think they're watching you like a hawk? They're the powerful's eyes and ears. Be wise. I know you are. I know you are. Be wise. You can be free again, but you just don't need to say why you're free again. You can start to change policies. You just don't need to say why. And of course you need to know that these new things are out there. Of course it's imperative to start changing things because these things are out there. But you must never underestimate the other side. You never underestimate the other side. Do not underestimate the secret and what it took to protect it. In a world with the internet, where supposedly truth can get out there, where things go viral, what do you think it took to make sure that 7 entire buildings never went viral? Video of that never went viral. So be smart, be wise, have an amazing Easter, have an amazing new spring day, and just enjoy this. And I'll link the 1996 document down below where you can read about how, because remember, this is NORAD, right? This is NORAD. Remember, this is not the Bushes. This is not Bush. This is Clinton. And the 1996 document is Clinton. This is the armed forces during the 90s. The 90s was Clinton and Bush. Notice this was Bush and Clinton right through. Like, remember, this was in the same time period. So it really shows the continuity that it was both of them. That you don't want to forget that, like, that both were involved. So it's especially that secret more than all. You cannot go out there and talk about that and say, oh, Bush and Clinton, good God. All right, I love you guys. I can put my neck on the line. You can't. You're too valuable. If you love this stuff, then you are a very valuable politician. And I love the rest of you as much as I love you all. Thank you for watching this, you brave people. To life, spring, happiness for all. Peace out.